This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff. Full barn.
Oh
The,
yeah.
ba- the barn is full.
All the peeps are in the house tonight for a recording. But today, if you're listening, is Monday, February 3rd. If we have any new listeners out there, do a quick introduction. I am your host in most of the podcasting journey, Muff. Howdy,
Hello,
friends.
Muff.
Howdy, friends. Also, the namesake of this podcast, coming in from Ohio, the Ohio Homer, and the capo of the Midwest Crack House, Jim.
Hi, friends. Hello.
We also have our medical guru, the medical degenerate, and the knower of more things in the sports world after this past weekend, Alex.
That's me.
Big
And,
proud of you.
Thanks.
and last, but certainly not least, coming live from the Harper household, our guru of officiating, the one that says, Gene, you got it right, or you got it wrong, Nate.
And more often than not, he gets it right.
So, would you consider yourself Gene's accountability buddy?
No,
All right, just check.
We could. And somewhere probably in the background, making some shirts, making some handbags, putting some decals onto something to brand it. The Guru of Glitter, Sam.
Hi.
Hey, Sam.
Sam is back there. This week, we're going to provide our thoughts on the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
are we allowed to say that, or do we have to call it the big game?
We're not
Um,
profiting from this, so we're okay.
yeah, I don't think we have to worry. I
Maybe
think
one day.
anybody's. Yes, hopefully, Alex, one day. We're also going to share any relevant college football news that has Jim upset over the past week.
No, I've given up being upset. We're in that stage, guys.
Denial.
We're in acceptance.
You skipped a couple stages, I think. And I feel like I think we're in denial right now, and we're thinking that we're in the acceptance stage
Could
because we're
be.
actually in the denial phase.
Could be. I'll give you that.
We'll get there. There's definitely some opportunities for Jim to be upset this week. We're just not sure where it's gonna go. And Alex witnessed the sport for the first time over the weekend.
I did. The first time I saw like real people, not little kids doing it, but I went to the conference wrestling tournament with Muff, and he taught me a lot, and I realized it's actually super interesting when you know what's going on. It's not just sweaty guys rolling around, and I would just like wanted violence because I thought that's how you got points. Not that.
Oh,
Not that. Some of the
don't hold
biggest
on.
plays.
Hold on. Don't get crazy. We still got to get to that part in the
Oh,
show.
sorry. I thought that
I
was
have
just
lots of things I want to expand on.
okay.
Alex, you have your own segment this week.
Yeah.
Alex, the sports weekend that was for Alex.
I'm ready.
Because Alex also watched a sports-related movie, a tried and true classic.
True. I did a lot. I expanded my horizons this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other news in the sports world, we had a blockbuster trade in the NBA and a women's college basketball game that featured 50 fouls, two ejections, and an assistant coach that had nothing to do with their hands, much like Ricky Bobby. As always, thanks to all those interacting with our content on the socials at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, like, tickle.
Get the bell on.
Ding ding.
Get that bell on. This week, in addition to our regular episode, we will also have a Super Bowl betting episode
All
coming out
right.
at some point later in the week. TBD once we set our recording day, but I suspect it will either be coming out Thursday or Friday.
And we can talk about all the fun prop bets.
Indeed. I have a proposition which we can talk about when we're done, gentlemen.
Okay.
Nate, you feel free to get involved with this if you want as well.
I like
But
proposition if you're not comfortable.
it's a proposition on proposition betting.
Okay.
Before we get into this week's episode, I have to share that the podcast, specifically the podcast Zoom account, entered a boardroom within the past week.
What?
If people didn't already know, my nickname at the highest levels of my employer, it is out of the bag now. I
Oh
will
no.
I will allow Alex to describe how it was described to him from somebody that was in the room.
Muff joined a Board of Governors meeting
Oh no.
with Muff
It was a committee
as
meeting. It was a
okay, a
committee meeting. It
committee,
was
sorry,
yeah,
a
yeah.
committee meeting as Muff. Not as Chris, not as Professor McPherson, but as Muff.
Like on a Zoom?
Oh yeah, buddy. Oh
You see
yeah.
how under his name right now it says Muff?
That's how we entered. Uh yes, so I had planned to be at said meeting in person, and I was really on the cusp of the time frame of getting there and being there. So I was like, I don't have to be on campus this morning at that time, so I'll just do this from home. Set up, just like I do for the podcast. Set up, went to the link, went to join from my
Did you
personal
rock the
from
headphones?
my personal computer. No, not for this. I did not.
Okay.
From my personal computer, which automatically joins under the podcast account unless I log in under my work-related account. So Muff appeared in the meeting, quickly disappeared, and
Not before
reappeared
everyone saw.
as Chris,
Oh no.
causing one person in the room to immediately text me and inquire if indeed that was me that attempted to join. I confirmed, and there was a little bit of back and forth with some hilarity within that. Um, Alex, you don't have to say the person who told you, but explain how it was brought to your attention.
Oh yeah. Someone was I all I got was a did Muff tell you what he did today? No, can't say we've talked today yet. Ask him. Ask him how he entered this meeting. It was without almost could not get it out without continuing to laugh is my favorite part. It's like it said Muff. It said Muff. I can't believe he said Muff. I wonder what he was thinking. I panicked. It said Muff. It was fun.
So
Yep.
did the whole meeting figure out?
Oh yeah.
If they did not figure it out when it happened, I'm sure there was discussion prior to me rejoining. And the person who texted me, of course, said as I entered as myself under my work account said, "Hey Muff, how's it going?" And I said, "Hi, person's name. Good to see you today." And there was a chuckle. Um, I then later in the week, I believe it was, so that would have been on a Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday. On Friday, had a phone conversation with, we'll say, my boss within my faculty role, and I just steered directly into the
Right in the
warhead.
storm, yep.
I just said, hey, you now know my college nickname, huh?" And this person said, "Oh, Muff." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, I guess there's worse things that could be your nickname." And in my mind, I was like, I'm not sure if we can.
That's pretty bad.
We're not going to get into this as to what could be worse, but alas,
So
we were in high places this week, guys.
did we ever spin it to the podcast? Like, hey, I have a podcast.
That's what I was going to ask. Did this get publicity for the podcast?
No. At
No, I
that
did that
point,
whenever I was meeting with HR about my new position. I said, yeah, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Like, I help out with like a sports podcast. Oh, yeah, really? What is it? Sports stuff with Jim and Muff. And I was like,
Oh
oh.
no.
He's like, well, Chris's name isn't Jim. That
so
is true. Chris's name is not Jim.
Alex is the first one that spoke this into existence within a human resources perspective. Um,
I texted Muff immediately and was like, hey, buddy. He said she's good people. That's okay. We're good. And then I let him take it to the next level.
So they don't know about the podcast. They know about your
um,
HR does.
some people, yeah, HR does, and some other people in that room do. I will say that the people at the highest levels probably not, like some board members and the president of the university may not be fully aware of that.
They
Um,
will.
yeah,
we're
I was gonna
gonna
say, give it time.
we're gonna let that one hang out for a bit until we're in like a one-on-one setting
Okay.
where I can talk to the president and be like, "Hey, I just
Just so
need
you know.
put this into context for you, just so
Right.
we're clear." So
All
yeah,
right.
we had a
Well,
bang up podcast week, gents, and we weren't even recording.
I love it.
it's all right,
Well, and you have
buddy.
nowhere else to hide it from. I mean, there's nobody higher than
The
then
people that were in that room, you're more than correct,
that's
Alex.
what I'm saying. The band-aid's been ripped off. I can call you Muff whenever I want now, and not have to
I
worry about
I still don't know if we want to do that in front of the children's.
it.
All right, Alex, let's get into your sports weekend that was, starting with what you've already alluded to, your viewing and your first time collegiate wrestling experience at the MEC Conference Championships at West Liberty University, where Glenville State was dominant, sending all 10 of their wrestlers to championship bouts. West Liberty, the host, school ended up second in the team race with one conference champion for second place, and I believe two or three third place finishers. So,
Yeah.
Alex, so what did you think of college wrestling now that you've witnessed in person? What do you remember from what I shared with you? And do you expect to take more in the future?
Yes. So I feel like I actually remember a pretty good bit of it. So I thought I didn't realize much. I feel like I knew the general concept of wrestling, obviously. I did not know that so when you start back at neutral,
Uh-huh.
you can't someone gets a takedown and then basically the person has to escape before the next person can get a takedown.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah, no, you're
Like
you're fine.
somebody's like in charge. Kind
Yes. In control, we call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In control. I learned about ride time.
That's where I like, how did you handle ride time?
It was at first confusing, and I got really mad kind of quickly at the end of one of the matches. I was like, God, they just gave him a point for no reason. And then Muff had to recenter me. He had to recenter me that
Yeah.
was not for no reason. Um,
Yeah.
but it it was exciting. I thought I did not expect to be as into it. I thought I would kind of go for an hour, hour and a half, check it out, say I went to a little bit of it, and then I was like bought in. I'm like, well, now I want to see it all. I want to see it to the end. So I stayed there for the whole time, and I learned about how the brackets work, and then I learned about rules you're not allowed to do. So you're not allowed to do this with your hands,
Lock hands. Yep.
lock hands for a long time. And I would point out sometimes that they were doing it, and Muff said it's only illegal if you get caught. Um, I learned that you're not allowed to put people in a full Nelson, just a half
Just a
Nelson.
half. Yep.
Um, they do a lot of somersaults. Like
Well,
just
Al-
just walking around the
this
arena, the
this
wrestlers will just drop into
Alex saw
somersaults.
warm-ups and was like, "Why are they doing all these somersaults?"
Like literally, I would
Yeah.
just be like, I'd be like, watch them. They're just like walking and they're like, boom, somersault. And I'm like, what was
Okay.
that?
Okay.
So yeah, and that the last weight class is super big. I was like, these guys don't look like they're 285 Muff. He's like, that's just the max. But like these guys we were wrestling, I bet they were probably like
The one
230.
was probably around 200. The other one was probably about 230, 240.
But it was really good. And it's more slow and methodical than you'd think too. Like there were times where they would like get them in a position and wait, and I could see that they were thinking like, where should I move my hand to? Because like if I move it wrong, I'm gonna get got. And that's something I never really thought about in wrestling. Like I would just be like, crap, crap, crap.
Yeah. And
That's why I wouldn't be a good wrestler, but
the speed of a match depends on the match in which you're watching. Like you're watching West Liberty and that level is that D2 if I'm correct.
Mhm.
yes.
So that's D2. You watch D1, it's a lot faster. The same way that if you go to a high school match mid-season, you're like, "Oh, okay, high school wrestling, cool." You go to the high school states and you're like, "Holy shit. This just got a lot faster." So it's like the level of talent is the speed of the match,
Makes sense.
I will say
which
that in these conference championships, there were multiple like top ranked wrestlers in the nation at certain weight classes. There were very number of top 10 and top like 10 matchups as well. So there was
yeah,
definitely in the title and the championship bouts a higher level of wrestling than Alex watched throughout the majority of the rest of the day.
Yeah,
I'm
those are
sure.
really exciting. And the one kid from Fairmont State upset the number one wrestler like in the nation from Glenville, and I was like, I was here for it. I was like,
Love that.
I know
It's
I don't
probably
even
my favorite.
I don't even like Fairmont State, but I was Pumped for this dude.
Well, it didn't hurt that the entire Fairmont State wrestling team relocated directly in front of an Alex and me during this match.
Yeah,
So
pretty
like
much.
all of the energy was right there with us.
Yep. Yep.
It was cool. It was fun. But
His dad, his dad was like 2 rows behind us, which I don't know if you realized, Alex.
oh yeah, I saw because I could tell because he was like, I was like, man, this guy's into it, and I was like, I think that's his dad. And at the end of the match, I thought he was gonna fall down the steps, like getting excited. Like he came like flying down, like hands in the air. And it was like cool,
Yeah.
but
So I think the hardest thing for me, I've been watching wrestling forever, is the damn ride time. Especially live, not watching it on TV. It's like I forget it's there.
yeah. And I had to keep remembering when I looked at the little score
Yeah.
triangle thing.
It's very difficult. Very
Yeah,
difficult.
it was.
It,
I would say just generally from the stance of because there were only two active mats like throughout the whole
oh,
day,
even
so it
better.
wasn't it wasn't as bad as far as like trying to figure out what you were looking at and where it
Yeah.
related
Way
to.
easier to teach Alex.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we were directly in front of one of the mats, so there were times of like, Alex, watch this. This is what's going on. This is why this is happening. Like, okay, I will say probably the most 2 or 3 instances this happened where we got to the ride out.
Yeah.
30-second, like I had to explain overtime and then I explained the ride
Oh,
out. And I was just like, Alex, I don't think you're gonna get all this all at the same time because this is unique and different and
When
outside of
when
the norm.
you were explaining how that one kid lost in the ride out, I was like, okay. And then when I got to actually see it with the Fairmont State kid, that's how he ended up winning. Then I was like, because I was in it, I understood like what was going
right.
on.
Yep.
But the yeah, it was cool. They have a challenge brick, so they can just randomly throw this brick
Yeah.
out onto the thing. I was like, what? The first time I'm like, what was that?
Yep.
What did you just throw? Um,
Yep.
there was a shoulder dislocation. I wanted to go help, but I didn't.
Oh, all the time. All the time. Something's getting dislocated.
Yeah,
Alex had
so
commentary and said they could be doing this.
I was giving Muff tips on how they could be doing it differently. Um, but
Yeah.
overall, it was a good day. I enjoyed it way more than I kind of thought
Good.
I would. And like at first, I was going more just to say I went to a wrestling match. I learned a little bit, expand my knowledge, and then by the end of it, I was like, yeah, I'd totally go to one of these again. That was fun.
Yeah, I think high school's different. There's no ride time. So like if you get to go to a big deal high school match, definitely try to take that up too, because it's just fun to watch. But I love watching it. I could watch Iowa versus Maryland right now if there was nothing else on TV. Just because I can get into it.
So I feel like we need to get Alex to a duel so he can get all hyped up for the intros.
Yeah.
They did those just for the championship, but they were kind of fun.
Yeah.
They do the flashy lights.
Oh,
Yeah.
Alex, there's a fog machine and everything.
At Claymont, at Claymont, I don't know if they still do it. When I was in school, they would turn all the lights off in the gym and drop this mega spotlight
This is the light I was
straight
telling you
down
about.
over the mat. And it'd be a hot light, but it'd be right over the mat. And that's all you saw was that mat. And then the walkout onto the mat was insane. That place would fill for a dual meet for Claymont. It was crazy, especially
Yeah.
like Claymont versus now Harrison Central, but Claymont versus Caddis. It was crazy. That's the kind of atmosphere you like.
So my high school also had one of those mat light things, and I never went and saw it, but I knew that we had it because it was a big deal when
Yeah,
they got it. And I was like, Muff, do you know what this is? He's like, I mean, a light on a mat. I was like, okay, I thought it was gonna be a bigger deal than that based on how much we talked about it. But
it's cool.
so
It's a hot big ass spotlight. It's awesome.
I
yeah,
don't recall, Alex. I don't remember a light.
there were some times where I would just look at Muff because I wasn't sure what just happened, and then he could intuit that I had no idea what was going on, and he would start explaining it. Pretty good system. Like,
Especially when things got pretty quick, like some rapid action.
I'm like, why are they yelling? And who gets points?
And there were
I
times
learned
when
about
I
the
said,
mat.
Alex, they're trying to figure it out on the mat too.
Yeah,
They're not even sure right now.
The
mat
hard
points were exciting. I never knew what this meant when they do this, and then they do like,
back points, yep.
yeah, I didn't know
The
what we were
hard
doing.
thing for me is they've changed the takedown from 2 to 3, which has made scoring just insane. Like you can get a tech fall in like real quick. And I'm like, wait, how did that happen? Oh, it's 3 points for a takedown now.
It's
So
of stalling.
yeah.
Oh yeah, stalling was an interesting thing to explain because it's sometimes inconsistent of
Oh
how it's
yeah.
applied. So Alex never said, "Shouldn't that be stalling?" Alex would be like, "Why was that stalling?" It's like,
Which
Yeah.
is college. That's
yeah.
innately college. Like college, the refs don't necessarily want to spend all damn day at a tournament or at a dual meet. So like, let's go.
Mhm.
So that's cool. Awesome, Alex.
I had fun.
Alex is gonna do more. So, in the second part of the sports weekend that was for Alex, Alex watched another sports-related movie, this time in the hockey atmosphere, watching the movie Goon.
I had never seen it. As you guys know, I'm not a very good movie watcher, but I'm trying to do better. So I said I was going to go home and pick a movie, and I just pulled up Amazon Prime and went until I saw something that piqued my interest, and it was the movie Goon. And all I can say to you three and Sam is that my
Phew.
stomach light needs your stomach light. That was one of my favorite lines in the movie, and I'm not really sure why, but
Holla, 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 facts. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
yes, it was a very good movie, actually.
Have both of you seen the movie Goon?
I have, yes.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Very memorable for some of the quotes, some of which are
Yeah,
probably not great to say on any
I
podcast.
was going to say there are some that I won't risk being clipped.
But definitely a good one. If you put it out of 10, Alex, what would you rate it?
Out of 10, 7.8.
Oh, okay.
There's also a sequel, Goon: The Last of the Enforcers.
Oh, good to know. I'll add that to my watch list.
Add that to the watch list.
I would like to, well, since this is my segment, I do want to add one more thing. Mom bought me a gift. I got this in the mail. It is a new coloring book. It is the Walmart coloring book. I got it and I said, thanks, Muff. He's like, did it take it from? I'm like, no, but you're the one person who said that I wanted the People of Walmart coloring book. So I'm currently coloring her. Well, I will be as I color, I will send completed updates.
All right.
I mostly got that so that we could get these completed updates because I feel like they're going to be great. All right. Other things going on in the sports world outside of the foosball. Jim put you on the spot. I don't know if you watched the Royal Rumble.
I did.
Okay, there we go. Lead us through your Royal Rumble viewing experience, things of note, and items that you think will be coming in the future.
So I watched it with the kids. I made the kids pick a random number, and
Yes.
whoever that number was, the kids had to, that was their wrestler. Um, my oldest did not like that. She wanted to root for her favorites, which she could, but that was your number. And she, her number lost. So did mine, so did Joe's. The women's Royal Rumble, Tessa won.
Nice.
She drew Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte Flair won that. Probably Charlotte Flair will have what they call the rocket on her back and will probably win gold at WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes won in a decent, okay match. In the other Royal Rumble, um,
Now was we'll say uh, Spotlight Royal Rumble, was that all men or was it
all
men and
men,
women? Okay.
all
I wasn't
men.
sure if there was a women's and then a
There's a
mixed or if it
women's, there's
was
a men.
okay.
In the other Royal Rumble, they had done a great job setting up like, oh, anybody can win because typically you're like, we know who's winning this son bitch. Um, but they did a great job. Like, we don't know who's going to win. In fact, they brought Roman Reigns out at like number 16, and I was like, whoa, that he should have been out way later. John Cena came out. He was one of the last participants. So you're like, ah, he's going to win. And he didn't. Jey Uso won, which is like, wow, all right, yeet.
Yeet.
So Jey Uso won. That's cool. So I don't know who Jey Uso will face, tell you the truth.
I
So it,
thought that John Cena, isn't this John Cena's last Royal Rumble?
yeah,
So
yeah.
the scuttlebutt that I heard was that he would win because of that.
So did I. So shocked he didn't win. It was a good Royal Rumble. I mean, they're definitely going in a different direction than we're used to. You know, Vince is gone, dirty, perverted, dastardly bastard that he is. Um, so it's cool.
Are you a fan of Jey Uso?
Um,
I'd say, what level of a fan are you? I'm sure you are to some degree, but
I'm an okay, like I don't even consider myself a wrestling fan right now.
okay.
Like it's kind of I've kind of aged out. Like I can't really watch it enough anymore. So I'll watch that like Royal Rumble. I'd probably watch that when I'm 80 because it's just a cool event. You know what I mean? But if I was rooting for anybody to win yesterday, I was probably rooting for Drew McIntyre to win because he's just an angry person. So I relate to him on a more visceral level.
Yeah. Alex, this is an example where their stomach lights need each other.
Yeah, yeah,
They're relating on a more visceral level. Their stomach lights need each other.
yeah.
Got it.
They complete each other. All right, cool. Yeah, I saw pretty much everything you just discussed there. Um, I did see some like afterwards, some I'm say some hate towards Jey Uso because they don't think this WrestleMania event is going to be great just because he's not the type of wrestler to put on a great show in the ring.
No, he's not a
That's
wrestler. Like he's
yeah,
not. He's definitely an entertainer.
right.
But I mean, wrestling fans are like Ohio State fans. Like they don't like change, but they want to bitch about change.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. So I don't really get into wrestling arguments. Like, shut up. Take what they give
Appreciate it
you.
for what it is.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. You'll still pay whatever amount of money to keep filling up those arenas. So shut up.
All right, moving into the football world, we're going to get into a little bit of a Super Bowl preview, the big game, as some will be forced to discuss it. We're just going to say what we want to say.
All
As the
right.
Chiefs are going to take on the Eagles in the big game, with the Chiefs a 1.5 point favorite, an over/under line set at 48.5, a little precursor to the betting show later this week. So, to put through, I think, a way to actually break this down and to give some initial thoughts before we give up our straight up winners that we think are going to happen in the Super Bowl. Let's go position by position and think where we believe each team has an advantage. So we're going to go up and down the line on offense and the defense um, and coaching. So let us start at the quarterback position, where we have Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs and Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. Alex, where do you think the advantage lies at the quarterback position?
Unfortunately, I have to go with Patrick Mahomes here.
Okay, Nate,
I second that.
Jim.
Third.
Yep. I don't think we can get around this one. No
No.
matter what we say, I think Patrick Mahomes is always going to have the edge in this particular matchup, um, based on the history of the teams as well as just the history of success throughout their careers. Now we go to the running back position, where we have Saquon Barkley for the Eagles, and we have Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. I did not look to see if Kenny Gainwell is going to be available for this game. I know he got hurt, I believe, in the conference championship. But let's just say it's Saquon versus the two-headed monster in Kansas City. Nate, where do you think the advantage is here?
Is this a rhetorical question?
You have to say it, but I expect we're all going to agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Saquon all day, all night.
Jim,
Yeah, I'm Saquon.
Alex,
Yes.
yes. Uh, we have some clear winners thus far in our position by position discussion. Next, we go to the wide receiver position, where Kansas City has Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins. Tight ends are going to be separate. Hollywood Brown, and for the Eagles, we're looking at Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and then after that, I'm not as aware of who they have. So who do we think has the overall edge at wide receiver, Jim?
I call it a tie. I think that it's a matter of who can get them the ball in those situations. I think it goes back like they're just character actors in a play. So I call it a tie.
Okay. Alex.
I think the best receiver on the field is AJ Brown. The question is, if you look who has like, if you had to give them all like points, I don't know that the other receivers from the Eagles would make up enough to be better than Kansas City.
As a receiving core.
Yeah.
Okay. Nate.
I'm with Jim. I think this is a little bit, or probably the closest of the position groups on who's got the edge here, but I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City just because, like you said, you can't really name anybody outside the top two for Philly. So I'm going to give it to Kansas City because I think they've got more weapons.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's a slight edge to the Eagles. Something I did not realize until I heard some commentary from a little bit of off the beaten path sports betting podcast that if you look at the stats between AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, they have very similar total catches and total touchdowns all season. AJ Brown just has an edge in yards because he has a little bit more bigger plays. Um, so I think they're pretty well balanced between those two. So I think that gives them a little bit of an edge as far as having two, I will say, one A, B instead of one and two and three, potentially four receivers. So I say talent to the Eagles, depth to the Chiefs.
Fair
Next,
enough.
yeah,
Wait, do
next.
you mean to say that backwards, or do you really mean to say?
No, top level talent, the Eagles win. Depth at receiver, the Chiefs win just because they have legitimately four options, not including Travis Kelce.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know if I see it that way, but you're more educated, so I'll go with it.
At tight end, we have Dallas Goedert as the primary target in Philadelphia, and the great Mr. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce for the Chiefs, along with, don't let's not forget about Noah Gray, also in this mix. So, where do we think this falls? Let's start with Alex.
I think you have to take Travis Kelce. And I think Noah Gray is actually a pretty good tight end who just happens to be playing with probably the greatest tight end in the game right now. Um, so definitely if we're running tight ends as a team, Kansas City.
All right, Jim.
I go with Philly.
Is this based on individual talent or the situation at play?
I go based on the performance of last game, the waning years of the career. I think that like he hasn't shown out here lately, and I think Dallas is gonna. I think he's coming on the come up.
All right, Nate.
Until he gets knocked off, I'm going to take Kelsey. I get it. He hasn't really shown up as much on the stat sheet as he normally has, but you know he's going to come up big and when time comes in this game.
Yeah, I think this is the most interesting position for me to consider. Just overall talent, Kelsey's got it, right? Including who's going to be delivering the ball and the offensive mind behind like the play calling and the play design. But Philadelphia has like a top five defense against tight ends, and Kansas City has one of the worst defenses against tight ends. So I think this could be the defensive schemes and the defensive history and what's happened this season coming into play. So I think Dallas Goedert's going to have a better game, but I give the edge in every other piece of this towards Travis Kelce and the Chiefs. But I do think that Dallas Goedert probably ends up with a better overall game. So I guess that means I'll give the edge to the Eagles in a weird way. Um, all right, next, offensive line. I will start this discussion. Offensive line, the Eagles have, by most accounts, by most experts, by most people breaking down film in the game, the Eagles have the best offensive line in the NFL. Throughout most of the regular season, they and the Lions were kind of one and two throughout the regular season into the playoffs. Whereas the Chiefs have had to do a lot of shuffling based on injuries, including moving a guard out to tackle, a Pro Bowl guard out to tackle, and performing at a high level. So the offensive line, I give the edge to the Eagles as a unit, um, although I think Patrick Mahomes makes up for a lot uh, of potential issues that that offensive line in Kansas City may face. Let's go to Nate.
Yeah, Philly's O line has been dominant all year long, even with the injury to Cam Jurgens and I think Landon Dickerson got hurt in the conference championship game. As long as those guys are on the field, they're going to be the best O line between the two.
Right, Jim.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with both of your takes.
Right, Alex.
Yeah, I was gonna say similar to that. I think the Eagles, because Patrick Mahomes does make the offensive line's job slightly easier than some quarterbacks would.
Next, let's move to the defensive line. Let's start with Nate.
Give me Jalen Carter and company, Philadelphia.
Right, Alex.
Yeah, I'm with Nate.
I'm with Nate. Make that a shirt,
Yeah,
Sam.
I'm with Nate.
Got it.
Okay, Jim.
I too am with Nate.
I am going to say that I'm with Nate as well. I do think that the Chiefs' defensive line and the defensive unit as a whole, including their linebackers, are going to limit Saquon Barkley in explosive runs. I think I was listening to that same podcast, and I believe the Chiefs have given up like five or six rushes over like 26 yards throughout the entire season. So they've been able to keep things in front of them. So I think that's how the Chiefs defensive line is going to be successful in this game, is limiting explosive rushing plays and just making it a little bit difficult for Jalen Hurts in the pocket, who we know is a little banged up as well. But I do give the edge towards Eagles, and I too am with Nate. Next, let's look at the secondary and the linebackers as like an entire unit here. So let's just say the back seven. Nate.
I'm going to take Philly again on this one. Um, like you said, the Chiefs have given up a lot of big run plays, and I just don't know enough about either secondary really. But I just know Darius Slay is going to be able to match up with whoever and kind of shut him down. And then you got Cooper DeJean, who's been playing pretty well for Philly. And then again, I just don't know enough about the Kansas City secondary, but I think this is probably one of the more evenly matched up position groups.
Yeah. Jim.
This is tough. I think I lead with Nate, but Kansas City's explosive in that secondary and always seem to like rob you when you don't want them to. So I lean with Nate on this one, but wouldn't be surprised if they're the ones that cost Philly the game.
All right, Alex.
Um, yeah, for me, this is a an area where the other one stands out as significantly better than the other to me. But probably Philly.
I too agree that Philly, as in the back seven, has the better overall talent level. I think Kansas City's edge is in experience, especially in the big games, and to the area we're going to get to next, which is coaching, where I think is where Kansas City, as an entire defensive unit, can make an impact based on some exotic blitzes and some other schemes with Spagnuolo in there. So the last element is coaching. Whether we're going to interpret coaching as just the head coach or with their offensive defensive coordinators and others, feel free to include any and all that you want to in this take. I will start and say that I'm going to give the coaching edge, as we I think should, to the big game winners, the big game managers, Andy Reid, and whoever else happens to be on the coaching staff. But I think the defensive coordinator's position in Kansas City, I think that may be a game changer for this one, which may be a little hedging towards my thoughts on the winner. Um, I think that Philadelphia has great coaches, but I think we just have too much we're competing against with Kansas City. So I give the edge to Kansas City and the whole. Alex.
Yeah, from a coaching standpoint, you can't take anything away from Andy Reid. He's been here, he's done it. He knows how to get his team prepped and ready for this kind of game. So I think you just have to embrace that he has that edge there. Um, and I think honestly, across their coaching staff, probably the experience will lend well to them.
Jim.
I got a Philly on this one. I think Andy is tired and old, and I think Philly's coach is an emotional, hungry, angry human being, and that's my theme for the month so far. So I'm gonna head that way. Think that's what Philly. I think that's what's gonna get Philly over the hump this time.
That angry hungry dog, huh?
Yep.
All right, Nate.
I mean, based off of history, recent history, you got to go Andy Reid, and I can't remember his defensive coordinator. His name's in my life right now.
Spagnola.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have been tried and true for the past almost decade. I mean, these guys are two of the best at their jobs right now. They're consistently winning ball games, so I think you've got to give the edge to them.
Fair enough.
All right. So now we come down to who do we think is going to win this game? This is straight up, no spread included. Who do we think wins straight up? Let's start with Jim.
I got Philly on this one. I think the storylines, the referees, the Taylor Swift, I think that's run its course. I think that you're going to anger a lot of fans on a three-peat. And I think you give Philly the Cinderella David beats Goliath story. I think that's how this works. So I'm taking Philly.
That's your NFL rigged opinion.
Yep.
NFL anti-rigged in this particular situation.
Well, no, I think he's saying now it's reverse rigged. It's rigged so far that it's now rigging itself back.
Yeah.
It's the pendulum swing, Jim.
It's the pendulum swing. Yep.
Pendulum swings all over the United States right now. Nate.
I'm with Jim as well. I had Philly on this, and I think it's going to come down to Philly's ability to control the game offensively. They've been one of the best rushing attacks all year. Uh, Kansas City's really struggled to stop the run. I don't think it's going to change overnight. You can put 7, 8 guys in the box, but then you got to go and cover Devontae Smith. You got to go cover AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert. So I think this is the one where it's finally going to catch up to Kansas City.
Oh, sorry, I'm watching this race. You got Denny Hamlin, who is like the ultimate heel this year against uh Chase Elliott, who is the white face baby. And it's just they're banging on each other because it's a short track. And you're
Alex.
like,
I will be rooting very hard for Philly, but I have a bad feeling that the Chiefs three-peat.
Anything else, Jim? Is there more banging happening? Are they banging each other?
well, you were hoping that like the crowd wanted to see if Denny would dump him and like just throw him out. And like you could see he thought about it, but it's way too early in the race. Like we're at the halfway point. So like if he did it, he knew the comeback was coming. So like he didn't. It was a chess match. It was cool. It was fun to watch.
All right. And lastly, I want to see history. I want to see a three-peat. I want to see, actually, I don't want to see this part. Pat Riley get really rich over having to use the trademarked three-peat for the Chiefs. Let's witness some history this Sunday. Chiefs win.
Sure.
Ugh.
Any other thoughts on the game? Who's it? Kendrick Lamar halftime show.
I'm excited for that. Let's see if he goes in on anyone.
It will be interesting with the world's eyes upon him.
Yeah.
All right, some other news in the NFL. We've filled all of the head coach vacancies except the one in New Orleans, as the Saints still looking to make that spot filled. And the fact that it's taking this long seems to lend itself that Kellen Moore is going to be the guy. Are we all in agreement that that's probably where things are going?
Yeah.
Is that a yes from everybody?
See,
See. We?
We
Okay.
we
Uh, I think at this point the most difficult task will be Kellen Moore gets the job. Who is he going to get on his staff? I think at this point it's probably just going to be potentially some guys that are out of work right now, or yeah, that's about all I can think of. Do we?
Like I feel like a lot of the big names have found homes,
Yeah,
but
I think that's going to be the biggest thing that Kellen Moore runs into if indeed he is the one with the job. Do we think that there are others that would take this role or that could fill this role if Kellen Moore turns it down for some reason?
I mean, I know Mike McCarthy's name was tossed around a little bit. I mean, I think he would take it, but I mean, at this point, it's like, do you take a job knowing they're just taking you because the guy they wanted said no?
yeah, I was gonna say that that'd be a kind of like a pity ask, but you consider it. I mean, if not, you don't have a job. So
That yeah, I mean I mean we had the list there like Ron Rivera, like it's going to be some out of work coaches at the moment. So I'm hoping for the Saints' sake they get Kellen Moore and that he's able to cobble together a staff. It may include some lesser known position coaches in Philadelphia or that he maybe had ties to when he was in Dallas. So I think there's some opportunities there. In other news in the NFL, Justin Tucker under some serious scrutiny right now regarding accusations from up to nine massage therapists in the Baltimore area dating back to 2012 and going through 2016 and related to sexually related misconduct. At this point, Tucker has denied any wrongdoing, vehemently denied. I think he's used some strong language in that terms. So I think we have to at least say that this is going on and TBD on where all this is going, unless anybody's seen any new developments.
I have not seen any. The only thing I actually even saw about it at all was the one. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm not letting him off the hook.
No,
I'll
I
tell you
mean
that right now.
we can't, based on our response when Deshaun Watson had everything going on with him.
Yep.
But I do think at this point we got to let some stuff play out to see where exactly this goes. But we're going to be coming for you, Justin, if all of this pans out the way it did the other way.
You'll be dead
Yep.
to us.
He's not. He's just as bad as of right now. 9 people came out for his skull.
Is it up to nine now?
It's up to
Yeah.
nine now. It was originally six, and then
Oh,
three more came out.
okay, I haven't seen that even. I've only saw the original.
Yeah.
And
So
I will say the media and social media has not wavered in their attack. So I'm pretty proud of that.
yep, more to come. More to come on that, especially in an off season where you can easily make some headlines
Hmm.
post Super Bowl. And last in the NFL, the Eagles and Rams will be playing the first NFL game in Australia in 2026.
Crikey!
Crikey, mate.
For us, now that we know we're going to have a game in Australia, does it have a higher standing as far as a place that we would choose to travel
Yes.
to watch a game as opposed to what do we have? Spain, Germany, and London.
No,
Yes. Number
Jim,
one on my
I'm not
list.
afraid of Australia because there is a lot of creepy animals down there.
I don't care. Take me there.
Alex, is it last on your list because of that, or
Uh, it's pretty far down.
what's last on your list if it's not Australia then?
I don't know. I have really no desire to go like Spain.
Okay. Nate?
no, just for how long it would take to get down there, just for a couple-hour game. No.
Oh, I'm going for more than just the game, bud.
Oh yeah, I know, but still, of all the other locations, I think Australia might be on the bottom of my list of those four.
Nate, do you ever see Australia jumping into like conflict with anyone? Are they close to Mother Russia? No.
Not really.
Well,
Different hemispheres.
maps. I mean, maps, the Magellan maps and all of that. Like, how close are they really?
Exactly. So I'm gonna say if it's hey, you're not too far from a nuclear missile from Putin, or go down there and play with some koalas and kangaroos. I'm going down there.
Jim just wants to be a Joey for the day. We get it.
Oh, I'm down.
He wants to hang out in a mama pouch.
Me and Bluey
Um,
and Dollar Bucks. I'm down.
I would say Australia. Yeah, I think Australia tops the charts for me too.
And
There
those
would be
guys that
Well, when
make
you
the
guys get
perfect
bit by a fucking
shots.
spider, don't come crying to me.
Alex. I don't think this is going to be out in the bush, buddy. This isn't Crocodile Dundee. They're going to be in like Sydney,
I, you think that's a knife? This is a knife.
right? I think we're talking about two different parts of Australia here, Alex. Big continent. Remember continent country, all in one shot.
True.
So yeah, I would go to Australia. The only thing that I would need to know is at what time of the year is this game and what is the weather? Because it can get pretty hot down there. Yeah.
I love this. This is amazing right now. The pits for this NASCAR race are like old school dirt track pits. There's no like there's like headlamps to get this done. This is amazing. If you ever want to see how racing's supposed to be done, this this is amazing. Love it.
Okay. It's amazing, guys. So
They've
is Australia.
reinforced the front bumper so you can spin people out here. Give me more of this.
Are they still turning left?
Yeah.
Okay. Some things change. Some things
Don't
stay
stay
the
the
same.
same. These
All
guys are
right.
struggling. Ha!
Let's get into college football. We call this college football fallout. I think there's
Yeah.
more to come in the weeks
All
ahead.
right.
But I hopefully for Ohio State, there's more positive things to come as Chip Kelly is leaving Ohio State to take an offensive coordinator job with the Raiders under Pete Carroll. Ohio State loses
Yep.
both offensive and defensive coordinators from a championship winning team. Jim, in Columbus land, are there any rumors on who is going to be filling these roles?
The dispatch says it could be Brian Hartline, Will Stein from the Oregon offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, Joe Moorhead, Akron's coach, Mike Shanahan, Indiana offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach, Jeff Nixon, Syracuse's offensive coordinator and running backs coach, and Kevin Wilson, former Tulsa coach and
Uh,
former coach at Ohio State.
Joe Moorhead,
I'll take Will
former
Stein.
former Penn State offensive coordinator. Does that make you want him less?
Yes. Give me the Oregon guy. Give me Mike Shanahan. I might even take Jeff Nixon as my third. I don't want Brian Hartline to be an offensive coordinator, although I can see that happening because we got to figure out a way to keep him. Um, I want nothing to do with Kevin Wilson at all. Like Kevin Wilson was dog shit.
Chip Kelly leaving. Good riddance. Thank you for your time. How do we feel about Chip Kelly?
Oh, I think he's amazing, and I understand why he's leaving. I get it, and he's not going to an enemy, so like, go get your bag, bud. I get it. So good on him.
So just to clarify, you're only mad at Knowles because he went to an enemy. If he was going anywhere else to get his bag, you'd be okay with it.
At this point, I may retract some of my fever. Still mad, but as more details have come out about the Knowles situation, my anger towards him has decreased some.
Fair enough. I'm proud of you for being able
So
to keep an open mind with new information.
Definitely.
so some of what was being reported is being supported.
Some of what you've said has been supported.
Okay.
Some of what's being reported, again, nothing has been verified. Let's
Right.
be
I'm
real
just
clear.
saying there's just more information out there to support that some of that was happening.
But like Penn State brought out the war chest. We said we not only did we say, and this has been what's been reported by some, not only did we say we're not gonna match it, we said if you don't give us an answer by midnight, you lose access to the facilities and you ain't coming to the celebration. If that's true,
Hmm.
I'm not as mad at him leaving.
Because
I'm still
he
mad.
had to make a decision at that
He had to
point.
make a call.
Yeah.
And then he chased the paper. If you chase the paper to the enemy, fuck you. I'm still at that level. But
Part of me says, oh, if you really respected me, you'd have like wanted me to come back and given me time to decide how bad I wanted to come back, and instead you said, don't come hang out with us. Like just on
yeah, I don't.
mental emotional level, like
We'll get to that here in a minute. In fact, that's the next point. I'll just
yeah.
start right now. In the age of the transfer portal and tampering, I don't know that I would be willing to let him come back and give him time. At this point, I would treat everyone. It's a corporation, so you don't get to mess with company property or company secrets or take my players with you.
I think the problem for me is that he just won a national championship.
Don't care. And so, like Nebraska, in another news, Nebraska's canceling their spring game because they don't want the world to see their players. Young freshmen, sophomores, juniors play so they can. It's basically a scouting thing now for other teams. I don't mind that decision. In fact, Ohio State cancel your spring game. That like I don't disagree
Listen,
until we
listen,
have.
Jim. You got to go make up for that 40 million in the hole.
Yeah, not wrong. But like until we have a chairman of the board, like until we have somebody a marshal, a sheriff over this whole NIL portal transfer situation, I'm tightening the ship and making sure that nobody's taking my guys.
We need the Elliot Ness of college football to come into play.
We really do. Yeah, that's a great analogy there, Muff.
Somebody above reproach. It's gonna
Yeah.
sniff out the bad guys and make it
Nick
happen.
Saban,
Ugh.
give me him.
I feel like Nick's gonna be disinterested after a day.
Oh yeah, he ain't gonna do it.
Like this,
But we need someone like Nick.
yeah, somebody with that pedigree, with that respect, to be like, yeah, these guys are screwing this up.
Yeah.
This is what we got to do.
Yep.
Other news, Jim. I think this is all you.
Oklahoma coach Brett Venables will handle defensive play calling responsibilities for the Sooners in 2025, which, like, okay, why is that news on the surface? That means he's not hiring a defensive coordinator, I would assume. Or if he is,
Uh,
like, what kind of role are they going to play? It basically takes out the shot that he's not hiring a big dog
right.
to be the defensive coordinator. And I think Brett Venables running the Oklahoma defense is smart as hell.
I mean, he has the history of being successful as the defensive play caller, so why not?
And I think that was Oklahoma's shortcoming.
Yeah, definitely.
So like I think that makes Oklahoma scary to me. Oklahoma State, Gundy revised his contract with the school, and it was done Friday. Includes a reduction of salary by 1 million, adds a buyout, as well as provisions that require him to be more involved in fundraising, and also possibly creating a succession plan.
Well, he shit the bed last year, so
Good while it lasted, bud. You're digging your own grave now.
He's the second longest coach at a school in the college football world. There's Ferentz and then there's him. And essentially they were like, your seat's warm, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
So
silly
So
story.
it's funny that he has to be more involved in fundraising, which could be helping to fundraise for his own buyout.
right. Thank you. Yes.
And
Yes.
Was that Nate?
Lastly,
wouldn't that be funny if that's true?
it's good that it absolutely would be. Lastly, and we talked about I think people have talked about it earlier in the week, but like the news cycle is gonna let this slide. 137-page response from Michigan, and like nobody's really digging into the fact that like the leaker came from Michigan. Remember how they're like, oh, it's Ryan Day's brother. It's espionage. It was somebody from your own school, you idiots. So and it was like if it takes 137 pages to respond to the NCAA, you're guilty.
As a good,
Or do you have a ton of evidence proving your innocence?
as a great attorney friend of ours, Jim says, what?
If you're explaining, you're losing.
There's the answer.
So, and that happened. That's all the college football news I have. Besides the Senior Bowl happened, I haven't heard a lot about it.
Neither have I. I mean, obviously, Senior Bowl happened. That's about what I've got. I think we had, some people leaving after they got some film, like in the practices and stuff like that. So there's always kind of that going down. At this point, we're only really seeing those that can improve their draft stock, not that already have solidified draft
Yeah.
stock.
Well, Will Howard and Jack Sawyer are on a media frenzy here in Columbus. I've never seen. It's like the Beatles in Columbus. There are more signings and more appearances than any celebrity I've seen. And then Ryan Day, hell, he's on every talk show this week.
Well, he won
I
a national championship, so.
Yeah, but I mean, like, did you ever see Nick Saban on a talk show?
No, he just talks to Paul Feinbaum.
But we also
Or
don't have any access to like local talk shows in Tuscaloosa.
no, no, no. I'm talking about Kelly Clarkson, Jimmy Fallon.
I got what you're saying. But
Like, Dabo wasn't on there. Harbaugh wasn't on there. Why is Ryan Day doing this?
Well, I think we can explain why Harbaugh. I think that's a simple one. I
Sure.
can't explain a Dabo aside from, he wasn't going to do it on Sundays. Um,
Thanks, Muff.
This-
You can move on. Don't ruin it. That was great. Thank you.
Dabo and Chick-fil-A closed on Sundays. Um,
Thanks,
all right,
Muff.
that brings us to other interesting news in sports.
Interesting news in sports.
Were you trying to tag on there, Alex?
I was doing I was trying to harmonize with him.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it goes as well in Zoom world. All right, we're going to start in the basketball world. Alluded to this in the intro in women's college basketball. Oh,
Oh, oh.
Oh,
let's go
just
to
in
NASCAR. Let's go to NASCAR.
Left turn.
Yeah.
Three people got spun out.
So they
Turning
were making
left.
right turns in a left turn only lane.
Yeah, buddy. Who did that?
damn
Who
it,
did
Allison,
that?
you should have used their damn turn signal.
No turn signal here, bud.
It's in the dirt.
Oh, he spun
Covered up
himself. He spun himself. Go ahead.
like a top.
Like a
Uh,
top.
In women's college basketball, Oklahoma traveled to LSU in a game that featured 50 fouls, 2 ejections, and LSU head coach Kim Mulkey slamming her hand down on a clipboard held by an assistant coach, leaving the clipboard on the ground and the assistant coach with nothing to do with their hands.
That was hilarious. Just frozen like
Do we think Miss Mulkey took it a bit too far this time?
I hate
Alex,
Kim Mulkey. I
Jim,
hate her. I hate her.
because
I think she's more for the show and doesn't like look out for her players. I think she causes the issue and the culture on that squad. I'm gonna be Alex for a moment and be that old man on the porch and be like, "You're the problem."
well,
was
Jim
this
stole my answer for the most part. No, I think she's too much for the show too. I don't even know. Be interested what she's even like in person. At first, there was the whole thing with all her outfits and kind of stealing the focus away a little bit. It was fine, whatever. But like, it's kind of getting a little out of hand now.
I've read up on her. Like I've done a lot of reading on her, and like I get her upbringing. I understand where she comes from and the life she's led. And I understand the why behind the personality, but like she turns it from 10 to like 15. And you don't need to do that. And if you think you're getting recruits or you think that's what's going to draw you to big players, you're wrong. You need to read the room. Like nobody wants to play for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think this time that this is a bit too far. Obviously, both coaches did not have a good handle on their teams and what was going on the court. We have 50 fouls, 2 ejections, and then we have this viral moment. Uh, so I think it's something that's just kind of tolerated in the LSU at the LSU. Be interested to see over time how much more without a championship they will continue to allow
Right.
this to go down.
I think that's it for me. It's like I don't know. You're not dominant enough for me to be like you can act like that. Oh, not that I think it's ever acceptable, but I don't know. I don't. It's not basketball.
Any additional thoughts, Nate?
I'd be that frustrated if there were that many fouls in a game too.
If you had to throw
Would you
that many
smack a
flags,
clipboard?
Oh, I mean, I'd be doing something. But yeah, if
Nick,
I had
you
to throw
wouldn't
that
smack a
many,
clipboard ever.
if my team was fouling 30, I don't know what the split was, but if my team had like 30 some fouls, I would be pissed.
No, I'm calling bullshit. Bring
At
down.
them,
Where's
right?
Sam?
I
Where's
mean,
Sam?
you're talking about bad at her players.
Sam,
Yes.
do you believe your husband is capable of being so mad that he slaps a clipboard out of another human being's hands?
Yes.
Really?
This is a side of Nate we didn't
I've
know.
never seen it. And I've known you for probably 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Never seen Nate that mad.
He reserves it.
For me.
all right, moving past domestic violence. On the men's side of the college basketball world, Duke boat
Muff,
races.
Muff, we
Yeah.
take domestic violence very seriously. We're not moving past it. You know what I mean? Like, let's make it.
No Ray Rice over here, I
There's
promise.
no. Hey, let's
You
clarify.
don't even know who Ray Rice is, do you?
I'm not trying to get Muff canceled.
That's a good point. Muff thinks domestic violence is
He
serious.
takes it very seriously.
I do take it very seriously. That was in jest. We know that there's nothing like that
Let's.
on happening at the Harper household.
It's a very happy home.
Mm,
Well, it's not abusive, at least.
Yeah, I can't use the word happy, but
All right. Uh, moving past those comments, how about we do it
There
that
we
way?
go.
On the men's side of college basketball, Duke boat races North Carolina as Duke freshmen Cooper Flagg and Colin Knuppel lead the way. North Carolina down bad this year in the ACC as a conference, not in the best spot for the tournament, Alex, which I'm sure is great for you in the Big 12. But in the Big 12, another top team goes down as Iowa State loses at home to unranked Kansas State. Alex, how's WVU doing?
Which is funny because we beat Iowa State, lost to Kansas State. I know we don't usually do this whole thing, but it's just an
Okay.
interesting. It's a
Go
longer
ahead.
season, so it doesn't mean as much as it does in basketball when things like that happen. But yeah, Big 12
Ooh,
is sitting okay for a tournament right now.
More people spinning in dirt. Got it, Jim.
I'm
And
telling you, we should have this race every weekend.
and WVU won today against Cincinnati. That's the update I got for you on that.
All right. Big news in the NBA as Luka Doncic is on his way to the Los Angeles Lakers to join LeBron James, but won't be joining Anthony Davis as Davis is part of the trade and headed to Dallas. There was lots of speculation on this trade, LeBron's involvement, which he denies any, but it's made pretty clear that the Mavericks were not happy with Luka and his time missed due to injury over the years, as well as just his overall apathy condition at times towards the game. Um,
Conditioning, right? Like,
Conditioning is physical conditioning at
yeah,
Yeah,
times.
I
right.
was like, wait a second.
Um, so I know we're not a huge basketball podcast here, but what do we think this holds? I'm not even gonna say for both teams because I don't expect that you all understand the Maverick situation. What do we think this does for the Lakers?
Nothing.
I mean,
they
Luka
get
Doncic.
new identity once LeBron retires.
I
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think Doncic's not a bad basketball player. I think maybe he was unhappy in Dallas. I don't know if he could turn it back up a little bit. Maybe if LeBron lights a little fire under his bum. But
I think management kind of kept a shell over top of him. Like, I saw a clip of the GM taking a beer away from him.
I was wondering
And,
if anybody else saw that.
like, I think that they tried to keep his personality in check. And I think LA, he'll come out. Now, whether that's a good thing for him and his conditioning and all that, it's TBA. But, like,
if you're having more fun, you might want to be part of the organization, play harder.
right.
Adam Schefter, as he does, put it into context in NFL terms, said the equivalent would be the Ravens trading Lamar Jackson in exchange for Joe Burrow in the middle of a season. So definitely blockbuster type of trade in the
But are we
NBA.
saying that from a I don't Ugh. So are we saying that like the Ravens who have built a team around Lamar Jackson and their whole play calling and play style in exchange for Joe Burrow who could play anywhere. So the
I
Ravens
think they're.
are
I
Dallas?
think you're looking too deeply into this, Jim. This
Well,
is
that's what I mean. I don't know that
this
that's a
is
good
two.
analogy
This is
then.
two top
You brought up football in a baseball conversation, so he's focusing on the football now. Or on the
Basketball.
basketball,
Basketball.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
basketball.
baseball. Come on, Alex. This is not the Pirates we're
We're
talking
trying
about
to
here.
keep his interest a little
Um,
bit.
no, just two top players for their teams.
I think that analogy's piss poor.
Okay. Adam Schefter doing Adam Schefter things, Jim. You can
Like
disagree with
Bill, I
Adam.
think maybe like the Bills and the Chiefs trading their quarterbacks. Maybe.
I don't think either of these are Patrick Mahomes level as far as that level of success pedigree.
Then the
And
Bills and Cincinnati.
Sure.
That makes you
But
feel better.
like
You go with that.
Lamar Jackson is an integral part. So is AD the integral part of the Lakers? Is Doncic a integral part?
Luca is more integral to the team's success in these two situations, in my mind.
I agree.
So
Anthony
then
Davis is a good player. He's just not this like when it comes to what he means to his team. I feel like
so then in terms of Dallas, they're the losing end of the stick.
We'll get into some ways that they may be winning. So one of the ways is this resets the NBA salary structure for Luca, as he would have been able to sign the Supermax deal as an extension in Dallas if he stayed. An extension in LA now, he is not eligible for the highest of the highest salary structure. The difference would be potentially up to $117 million between a new contract with the Lakers and the Supermax he would have been eligible for in Dallas. So that may be a way that Dallas wins in this because if they kept him and extended him, it would be 100 million plus.
Well, don't be a fatty and earn your money.
One piece of this is the Lakers gave up a 2029 first round pick, which means that they still have one this offseason, which may, depending on who they're able to pick up, uh, keep LeBron there a little bit longer.
The Lakers have gave up a 2029.
2029, the Lakers did,
Okay.
yes.
Because he's got no more relatives. So it's
Mm,
okay to give up that far.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Kevin Durant spoke out in the locker room after being spotted on the bench over the weekend, reacting to the news. He had his phone out. He was not playing. He was not dressed during the game, and was discussing with other players on the bench around him. His post-game presser included the following, and I quote, "Players are held to a different standard of loyalty and commitment to a program, but the organizations don't get held to that same standard from the outside."
I
Uh,
disagree. I'm sorry. Piss off. I'm sorry. The super teams, the deals during the All-Star break, piss off, Kevin. Nobody cares. It's basketball. I mean, you couldn't even pull the ratings when you were supposed to at Christmas. Shut up.
On teams following suit before the February 6th trade deadline, Durant went on to say, for sure, you start seeing stuff like that as an organization, you might get a little more course to do some stuff. You see another team trade away somebody like that. This got to be the biggest trade I've seen since I've been in the league or since I've been watching the sport. This is insane. So yeah, every other team might get confidence and say, "Fuck it, I'll trade a few of my top players if this ain't working." So
So the organization's got control back.
potentially,
Uh-oh, Kevin, I'm sorry. The
this is
inmates
all.
might not run the asylum for a little bit.
So this is all happening at the same time that we have Jimmy Butler in Miami, who was suspended by the team for a handful of games by Pat Riley. Has been stated that he will be replaced in the starting lineup by Haywood Highsmith. Shout out. We have some local ties in the
I was gonna
D2
say,
college basketball world. Haywood Highsmith replacing Jimmy Butler in the starting lineup. Um, and there's also further speculation that what's going on with Jimmy Butler and some of this pendulum swing in the NBA may come up in their next collective bargaining agreement and could create a lockout for the players, especially when it comes to players trying to control the narrative with their teams and force them to be traded or move them in other ways.
Good lockout. Strike for a year,
No money's for you.
please.
So, Jim's on board. Alex, Nate, what do you think?
Oh, there's gonna be a fight. There's gonna be a fight.
What Jim says.
Yeah.
Alex?
I I don't know. I think the NBA is ridiculous, to be honest. Like, I mean, just the amount of money that gets thrown around, the divas, the big whatever. Like, I just wish we had real professional basketball, like where you actually like cared about playing basketball and not, you know, what shoes you're wearing and how much money you made and looking good and sitting out. And I don't, it's just
To be fair, Alex, the NBA that you grew up in, they still cared about the shoes that they're wearing.
that's
Yeah,
true.
that's
But
yeah.
Let's not say that's one of those factors that has not been around for a while.
no. That was okay. So sorry. I'll take that one away. But you know what I mean. I wish there was more of an emphasis on basketball. But I feel like
Uh,
we never talk about basketball stats. We always talk about the drama.
to that, I tend to agree with you all are that I do think that the owners are going to look to take something back, and whenever this next collective bargaining agreement happens, the league has tried with load management and cutting down on that, but I've already seen the workaround of that is just saying, "Oh, I'm sick, I can't play." And that's their way of getting around that you can't sit out games for load management. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what goes down. All right. In the wrestling world, in the collegiate wrestling, number one Penn State dominated number two Iowa last Friday to the tune of 30-8 in the Bryce Jordan Center. Jim, I will say it's over that 7 point mark that I tossed out to you last week.
I know I saw that. I didn't want to say nothing.
Uh, it did go down. You can't predict injuries and other types of spot wrestlers to go out there in places where they're not supposed to be.
I feel
Uh,
like it's your fault. Like you, by one point, you kind of jinxed it.
it was still 30-8 over the
Right.
number two
Like,
team, so I'm not too worried about the
yeah.
outcome.
But I mean, like you jinxed that score. Like you did
Yeah,
that.
I'll take responsibility.
Yeah.
Um, overall, now Alex, you're new to this. Jim obviously has comes from a place of competition and knowledge over decades at this point. Um, is there a time that if Penn State continues to be dominant the way they are and have been over the recent 10-ish years, where it is does bad for collegiate wrestling? Start with you, Jim.
No. No, I don't think so. It's not ever gonna be. I'm gonna catch shit. It's not ever gonna be a sport that's gonna be a huge draw in TV ratings or money. It's just never gonna be that. So for one school to be at the top of the mountain and for everybody to chase it, to me is a good thing. It only brings, especially like the Big Ten and schools like that, it brings that competition level up, and I'm okay with it.
Alex is a new, I'm not gonna say follower, but a new interested person in the sport.
I
Are you gonna keep tabs on what Penn State does throughout the rest of this collegiate season?
Yeah, I might be interested now that I know like kind of what's going on. I think that it would remind me a little bit of like the Gino Auriemma UConn women's, how like people started watching the national championship because they wanted to see him get knocked off. So I think you might have a little bit of that coming for you at some point where people are like, yeah, we want to see Penn State go down because they're so good. And honestly, that might draw attention. So in a way, it may be good for it.
Okay.
Plus,
But
there's
yeah,
only so many weight classes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
only so many spots. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're a heavyweight, for instance, And Penn State's got their heavyweight, their guy, and they got somebody behind him that they've recruited. At this point, like you start looking at location. I live in Ohio, I live in Iowa, those aren't slouch schools. Oklahoma, you know, New Jersey. You start going, okay, like I'm out to prove that I'm the guy. I understand the team sport aspect of it, like Penn State is the mega, but like it's then becomes like an individual thing for you. Like, all right, you pick that guy over me.
Mm.
I'm gonna go beat that guy at Penn State. So it's the individualistic nature of the sport that like makes it not matter.
It makes it hard to sustain, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
All right. Golf.
Four.
Rory
Pebble,
won.
yep, Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Rory's a winner. Um, gets a win at a more traditionally recognized venue. Something he's not done well throughout his career. He wins, but not necessarily at these iconic locations. So good for Rory. And a couple weeks ago, Alex, I think you watched some Tiger Golf League. I'm not sure if you recall any of this or anything stood out to you.
Nothing too crazy. I was like in the call room, so kind of just watching what I could. But it is a cool concept though. I mean, it was something that got me thinking about golf that I wouldn't have been thinking about golf otherwise. So, and I think I could see people getting into it and enjoying it that have zero commitment to golf just because it's different.
Yeah. And whoever put this last note in, how about it?
So I hate ending on politics, but uh, Raptors and Senators fans, the Canadian teams, booed during the United States national anthem uh, at the
Scotiabank?
Scotia. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's an Ohio situation. Um, so fans at the Scotiabank erupted in loud chorus of boos during the singing of the national anthem on Saturday afternoon ahead of the Raptors game against the Clippers. The moment was similar to what happened on Saturday night when the Ottawa Senators fans booed the national anthem ahead of their 6-0 win against the Minnesota Wild. So Canadian fans are booing during the national anthem, obviously due to the tariffs. So
The the United States national anthem.
yes, the United States national anthem.
Right.
Yeah.
Canada has its own.
Canada is big mad. Canada fans, and they're showing it during uh the national anthem, which I'm sure that's happened at some point somewhere, but I haven't heard of it before. So
It is an
odd time in sports.
odd time in sports. Also an odd time in the Grammys. If anybody saw Kanye West and his
Well, walks a naked woman.
What?
He walked his naked wife down the.
well, first off, I don't believe that's how it went down. I think they got to a photo application and then that happened, Jim. I don't think she was
I
like that
saw
the
her
whole time.
boobies.
And I like them.
Whole Vicky Valancourt. Yeah, we'll end on that lighthearted note. Do
Good
your
way
own
to recover. Thank you.
investigating. Do your own investigating if you'd like. As always, make sure you follow us at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, like, tickle.
Get the bell on. Oh, he spins him.
Ding ding.
Alex, do Mario Kart spin out sound.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And we're gonna keep going up, and away as long as you tell a friend, make a friend.
The
Be
uh,
a friend.
friend.